are back. We are starting a new series. We are doing the Pacific now. We had like a little hiatus where we did some Halloween stuff.
Some horror stuff.
Some horror stuff.
Kind of mandatory.
Mandatory for spooky season.
And now we go to the horrors of war.
Again. The things you will love immensely.
I like it, and this is like very real stuff. So seeing these deaths is like, especially when they're characters you like, you realize that these were actual people who lived, and it's a different thing.
The connection's different.
Yeah. So this side of the war, this is pretty much going on simultaneously as what we've been watching with Easy Company.
There was a chance that some of Easy Company was going to be sent to the Pacific.
Be sent here, yeah. There was a 5 to 6 months gap. So when Europe ended, there was another 5 or 6 months of the Japanese War.
Yeah.
And so I have a little bit of a familiarity with this side of the story because I listened to a podcast. It's called Hardcore History, Supernova in the East. And it was about the Japanese military mindset and the way that they operated in the Pacific and why they did the things they did. The most basic premise of this podcast was their mindset was a vastly different thing. In Europe, and not to say that Nazis and the Americans and the Allies were the same, but they could relate in other ways, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they were completely foreign. What the Nazis did was incredibly evil, especially with the Jews and everything else in Europe. But for the most part, they were all Western European people fighting each other. So
you even had that connection where they run into when people were taken prisoner, and he's like, they were from the same place.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But so in Supernova in the East, they cite the story about, and this is to give you an example of the fanaticism of the Japanese soldier. Mm-hmm. Not that every soldier was this fanatic, but there was a soldier, Hiro Onoda. When Japan surrendered in 1945, he and 2 of his other officers did not surrender. They didn't believe that there was. Well, they didn't know there was a surrender.
Okay.
And they fought a war against the people. They were in the Philippines. They fought a war in the Philippines. One of them died. One of them eventually gave up after like 10 years. Onoda did not surrender until 1974. And he would not, they sent leaflets to tell him that the war was over. They had Japanese speakers go out and with megaphones saying the war's over, it's been over since 1945. He would not believe any of it. He finally said, I will surrender if you find my commanding officer and bring him here, and I will surrender only to him. Yeah. And that's what they did. 29 years. 29 years. So he by himself was waging a one-man war in the Philippines. Hardcore History points that out to just give you an example of how dedicated they were to this. The Japanese policy was, at least what they say in Hardcore History, and I tend to believe this because it sounds about right, was to create like a sphere. So, Japan's in the middle, and you create like this bubble around where you're China and all these islands and all this stuff that they absorbed after Pearl Harbor. So the idea was knock Pearl Harbor out, expand. We know we're going to war with them. We are going to outlast them by making them pay in blood for every inch they take. Every island they take, we're going to make them suffer until they say we're done, we're finished, we quit. So that was kind of, there was no 300,000 Japanese troops surrendered. It's like they fought almost to a man pretty much all the time. Some of them would do suicide runs or have grenades and pretend to surrender and blow themselves up, things like that. So as a result, even if somebody wanted to come and surrender, they weren't taking any surrenders. They would just shoot them, because they, fool me once. Once
been twice.
So it was a much different. Not to say it was a more aggressive or it was equally dangerous. As in Europe too, it was dangerous, but I don't know, the fanaticism of it took it to a bit of another level. And so the stories from the Marines, it was like mostly the Marines here, because you're talking about island hopping. So they're going from one place to another. So it helped if they were already amphibious troops. Mm-hmm. So the Navy would tool them around, and they would go to these various islands, which you'll see Guadalcanal and all these other islands that you never even heard of. Mm-hmm. And they would fight for every inch of turf. And it was rough. It was rough stuff. So it was a bit of a different war in that sense. It arguably, not to take anything away from anybody else, I think the Marines that were there would probably say it was a tougher war. Probably the 101st would probably say, well, we had it tough too. Bastogne, F-U. So, everybody had their tough roles, but
I can imagine though this is a little different just because this is pretty much probably between just Japan and the United States, right? Is there? Do we? Because where are the Allies even coming from?
We had
Okay.
the Brits were helping us. The Australians were helping us.
Australia. Okay, I can see that.
The Russians were not really helping us, but maybe that's a good thing because then, if the Russians had pushed down, they probably would have done something similar to what they did in Germany, where they took Poland. They took, Poland was the country that set off the war to start with, and Russia just took it after the war. So, we may have had a half Russian Japan or something. That could have happened. In that, I don't know, they may have had support roles or something like that, but they weren't super involved in the Pacific Theater. The British were. If you remember Bridge on the River Kwai, those were all British troops.
That's true. That's true.
So, and yeah, there's another thing about that too, because surrender to them was shameful.
Mm-hmm.
So if you surrendered to them, you were treated harshly, and from their point of view, if you tried to surrender to them, you were shaming. It was a shame to them to do it. So to do it was kind of unimaginable. Having said all that, okay, that's what we're looking at here.
Vera, Bob Leckie. I'm your neighbor from across the
I know
street.
who you are.
I joined the Marines. Thought I'd do my bit.
Well, if I don't see you before you go, take care of yourself.
Maybe I'll write you.
All right.
Yeah, Joe Bernthal.
Yeah. Nice. Punisher.
That's the Walking Dead guy.
Yeah. Walking Dead to you.
December 7th was quite a day. December 8th, places called Guam, Wake, Malay Peninsula, Hong Kong, Philippine Islands were also attacked. Japanese are in the process of taking half of the world. Here is what the Japs are not expecting. The United States Marine Corps. Hitler is not going to be our job, not until they can't whip him without us. Marines will do battle with the Japs on tiny specks of turf that we have never heard of. Whenever this war is over, when we have swept upon the main islands of Japan and destroyed every scrap of that empire, the victory will have been won by you. You, the NCOs.
My brother John, you've been there. Came back to join the Marines because you wanted to be the best and first in. When all this is over, let's say a year from tonight, we'll sit down at this table again for a welcome home feast. Just get the job done
Everyone thinks it's going to be over so quick.
and come home to us.
Wishful thinking.
Wow, that's a nice moment.
Oh, I hope I don't need a new axle.
The cold goodbye.
That's it, Deb. I gotta go.
I half expected him to salute him or something. Just shakes his hand.
It wasn't big on hugs. This is in the 40s.
No, for sure.
I think
I
that,
get it.
all that dialogue about the 40s, he's just trying to not lose it.
Looks like someone's not healthy enough to go.
Eugene, I'm sorry.
Dodged a bullet before him. He's like, damn, can't fight for it.
Well, I told you, there were people who shot themselves for being 4F.
I'm
Yeah.
still there.
Wow. Because you can't go. You can't be cleared.
Different time.
Gene, supper's ready.
You ain't ready.
Not hungry.
Thinking you stay.
You don't need your father's
Country ass
Can't go against
Mississippi
Mississippi.
Yeah.
man right there.
When you leave?
I'm on the 6 a.m. train to Atlanta. I wish we were going together. You don't have to worry about me.
Sounds a little bit like Famous Last Words to me.
Mm-hmm. These map pushes are so neat. Like here's where we are. It's in the middle of nowhere. We know you have no idea where this is, but here's where we are.
Today,
August 1942.
Well, at least they give you a good meal before the send-off. Yeah, like the electric chair.
Like you, you were on a trip.
Line them up, mow 'em down. Real turkey shoot.
I got a feeling it's gonna be a little more complicated than that.
Oh, it's gonna be a turkey shoot.
Hey, can someone... Guys, Professor Leg, enlighten us.
You wanna know why we're here?
Without a sign, his sword the brave man draws, and that's no omen but his country's cause.
That's deep.
Give me back my smoke.
Yeah, really. Give me back my smokes, too. Who was the professor in our last show? The guy who came back and he was treated like a replacement. You remember he's from Harvard?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he went to Harvard. Yeah.
I guess that's him here for this.
We will finish it! Yeah! When you see the Japs, kill them all! Yeah!
Where's the enemy? Thought they'd run into a fight and they're just chilling. That's a little anticlimactic.
That's not how you do that.
No, not at all. He's definitely doing it the slow way.
Now what do? The Islanders use a machete or a rock? Try using your head, Chuckler. It's big and rock-like.
That's good lines.
Yeah.
Corporal Dobson says the Japs might have poisoned the coconuts.
They poisoned 1 billion coconuts?
They poisoned 1 billion coconuts. We're here for some killing. Let's get to the killing. Yeah, something ain't right. I left here in a hurry, it looks like. Whew, talking about tension building. Jeez.
It's more like a horror film. Jesus.
Goddamn bastards.
No prisoners.
Killed their own dude.
They went to take a piss.
Did he say the password?
First casualty for friendly fire.
I know, there's a lot more of that than they'll ever admit.
Yeah. What was the call sign, the password, and the other one?
Thunder.
Thunder, lightning, yeah.
Corrigan, so thunder. Get over here. They also have those little clicker things.
Yeah,
Click,
yeah.
click, click, click.
Guess we took the airfield.
Well, let's go home.
Yeah.
LP's
Just like
at
that.
300 yards. 2-hour watches. Let's assume the Japs are watching right now, preparing to come at us.
Assume they are.
Let the little yellow bastards come.
Lord, can you imagine being on one of those ships? It's like the 4th of July.
That's Admiral Turner blowing the whole Jap fleet to the bottom of the channel. Love your optimism.
Alright, you don't even know. Ooh.
Son of a bitch. Where's the Navy?
Yep.
Gone.
Wiped out or ran off.
Where is for now? Yeah, well, she went down with half the battalion's ammo, most of our grub and medical supplies.
Let's dig in, Marines!
Now they're stuck.
It's like the 101st.
Yeah, they just got tossed in.
We're
Yeah.
always surrounded.
Yeah.
It's made out of donkey piss, but it's not bad.
Drag it.
If not now, then when?
There you go.
Stay low, stay low. They're just trying to spot our positions. Hold your fire.
Jesus Christ. There are thousands of them. The whole damn Japanese empire.
Yeah, we haven't even seen a Japanese one.
Yeah, they're
Not
just...
one.
No.
It's kind of like makes it even more unnerving.
Yeah. I mean, only from a distance, really, and that seems to be out there out here.
I don't think we've seen even one from the distance, have we?
Planes and ships, basically. No, but you're right. They haven't seen any actual... I mean, don't depend on how long they've been there. They've got a full lay of the land. They know what they're working with. What do you say it was going to be turkey shoot?
Yeah. I don't think I would ever make a comment like that.
No. They never thought that they might end up being the turkeys. Yep. Ooh. Can't even see what you're shooting at. Yep.
Is that the super courageous guy? I think that's the super big mouth guy. Who's like saying, "Let's go, let him come."
Yeah, talking a lot of... Nope.
He's lost it! Come on! Keep moving! Keep moving!
Kind of talk big talk till...
We gotta keep moving!
Yeah, but where to?
Wherever they're flanking.
I know it's only the first episode, but even this camera work is very different from...
Yeah, it hasn't
It's
been
not as like...
shaky.
Yeah, it's a little more controlled. Wow.
Cool.
That push in on the muzzle flares.
Look at the results.
That's apparently their offensive. I can't. Oh man.
Look at them all. We chewed them up.
They just kept on coming.
A real turkey shoot.
Yeah. Before it comes back around.
Look.
Foreman, we got a live one here.
Take a pin in him, Doc!
No hit!
Yup. Put him out of his misery already. Thank you. Man.
Hey, what'd you do that for?
It was a good job moving around last night. Got you promoted to corporal.
Yes, ma'am, I am a corporal.
Men with families as well. Both sides.
I think I'd do that too. It's not my memory.
Yep.
We've met the enemy and have learned nothing more about him. There are things men can do to one another that are sobering to the soul.
Finally, reinforcements. Shit, it's Chesty Fuller. Hey, you guys forget to set the alarm? Yeah, where you been?
Up with the son of Samoa, you and your girlfriend.
Colonel Fuller! Where you heading?
Tokyo!
Care to join us? You guys step aside. The real Marines are here now. And have been here for some time. Seen those guys?
They look like they've been through the ringer.
Truth is, you're the lucky one, Sid. You'll never have that nagging thought that you let your family, your friends, and your country down.
God, he's probably looking at his friend like you're in a better place, trust me.
Your friend wants to be a Marine.
Yeah, but his father won't let him. Got a heart murmur.
How old are you?
18.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Phyllis. Happy birthday to you. How fucked are you now?
Fuck you. The remix.
All right, well, episode 1 is
Episode
gone.
1.
So we've met the enemy, and they're fighters. They're
They're
tough.
fighters. Yeah.
We're still sort of like waiting on a sense of who the different characters are in the show. I guess we follow Lecky mostly in this to begin with.
Yeah, we follow Lucky, but we're introduced to him and the other 3 guys first. But I assume we're gonna spend. I assume we're gonna spend time with them right off the bat. The Punisher and those 3 guys who we first kind of meet.
Right. I don't know. Is it a slow start? Do you think?
I would definitely say it's a slow start. My thought is it's probably because they're gonna throw you into so much later that it's this nice kind of moment to. When I first saw all those bodies, I thought they were split, but it turns out that they didn't really lose that many people.
Yeah.
The list was pretty short, right? But it must have been 50, 60 Japanese, if not more.
More, yeah. Suicide runs were not like uncommon.
Yeah.
Like just go.
Yeah.
You know, into the machine gun, into the heart of a machine gun nest.
Yeah.
It's like they just keep coming.
I mean,
it was not an uncommon thing for something like that to happen.
You talked about the holding of the grenade, and we had a guy
that happened a lot.
Shot up.
So they stopped trying to render aid and stuff like that because more often than not it would be a booby trap. There weren't many Japanese who surrendered, but there were some in the actual war. It wasn't many. I can tell you that, especially compared to the European theater where, surrender was look, if you're surrounded and you're about to die, it's like hands up.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like it wasn't that way. So, and then you saw the scene with where they found the guy with his cut off in the other guy's mouth.
Oh yeah.
So that type of stuff happened too. One of the things that Hardcore History would talk about was they would torture guys, especially at night, so that the troops could hear it.
Oh, psychological warfare.
Psychological warfare. There was a twofold effect on this whole torturing and not surrendering thing. They wanted to torture these men for the psychological impact it would have on the troops who were listening, but also for the impact on their own troops who would not surrender because they knew if they did, they would get the same treatment.
Right.
So it was like a twofold approach. Entirely different mindset that you're dealing with here.
It's interesting because again, they're kind of cornered. The ship that would have given them all supplies back at sea.
Yeah.
And so they either have the coast to be on or they go deeper in the jungle. So then they sit on the coast. They got nowhere else to go but in the water or they really
but at least you don't have somebody behind you.
No, true.
You know that much.
That's true.
This thing's just getting going. And so this is like fresh for everybody. What are they going to be like? How are we going to see them? You know what's interesting is like in comparison to Band of Brothers, since we start out with their training, it's like we get a really good sense of the core of the group.
Yeah, we are with Easy Company.
And that group is like Winters, Nixon, Gonorrhea, all those guys who like we first meet, and we're with a lot of them until the end of the show. So knowing what I know about it, we will develop some of that. But maybe in some senses that since they forewent the Marine boot training, that maybe some of that is a little bit missing. We're just sort of thrown in, and we have to get to know them over the period of time that they're in this theater.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, we'll see you guys in the comments per usual. You can follow us here on our socials, and subscribe. We are watching The Pacific, and we'll catch you next week.
Yep.
Madness.